Good morning. My name is Douglas Kidd. Welcome to my video presentation for week 2 of Crimes of the Powerful. This week we focused on the scale and impact of white-collar crime. In this video presentation, I'm going to discuss both the scale and the impact of white-collar crime in Australia, and the impact that it has on the community, corporations, and individuals. So how big is it? What is the scale of white-collar crime? Traditionally, white-collar crime has been seen as mostly a victimless crime. As discussed last week, there is numerous types of white-collar crime, such as fraud, public corruption, and bankruptcy fraud. However, white-collar crime in the modern era is still considerably understudied, underreported, and at times is really overshadowed by conventional crime statistics. According to the Australian Institute of Criminology 2016, fraud is one of the most underreported crimes in Australia, with less than 50% of fraud offences in Australia being reported. According to the AIC 2011, at the time in 2011, white-collar crime cost the Australian taxpayer $46.7 billion over the previous year. And in a global context, white-collar crime costs over $10 trillion per annum. So what is the impact of white-collar crime? The impact of white-collar crime can be broken down into 3 main consequences of white-collar crime. The first is the direct costs. This is the monetary impact sustained by corporations and the individuals that are affected by the offence. The result of this can be collapse of companies, loss of clients, and obviously loss of employment for employees. The next is the indirect costs. These are subsequent and secondary costs as a result of the offences. For example, this is the sporting team that's lost their major sponsor because that company has collapsed. And lastly is the intangible costs. This is the personal cost of the victim. It's the toll that it's taken on their mental and physical well-being. It's also associated costs such as medical bills, legal costs as a result of what the victim has been through. So this week I have provided an example of white-collar crime from the industry in which I've been a part of for many, many years. So, back in February of 2018, a Perth-based security company was fined $81,000 for underpaying its staff more than $200,000 in wages during the period of December 2014 to January 2016. With this, there is both direct costs and intangible costs to the employees. In this case, the employees have obviously suffered loss of wages for a substantial period of time as a result of this offence. And it's likely that this has taken a toll on the mental health of the employees as well. However, there is obviously a pretty major impact to the company itself. In this, the company itself has suffered direct costs by way of having to repay the $200,000 in underpaid wages, but also having incurred a fine of $81,000 from the Fair Work Ombudsman. So, this brings me to the conclusion. I want to thank you all very much for watching, and we will see you again next week for week 3.